Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Afternoon Tune. I am your host, Josh, and with me is my co host here.
It's your boy Nick.
And we got a special guest coming in, doing an interview today. If you want to introduce yourself there, Ant, let people know what you're all about, man, and who you are.
Actually, absolutely. My name is Anthony D. Stokes, and I write comic books and I write screenplays.
Nice, very nice, yeah. So he has a nice comic book out called Decay that is out, has a Kickstarter for it and everything like that. So if you want to show him some support, show him some love, I'll be putting up his Kickstarter very soon. So just kind of let people know because kind of about your comic, and what it's all about, and how'd you get into it?
So I originally was a screenwriter, and that's pretty hard to break into. And I was looking at all these comic books, and I was like, hey, that seems like a little bit easier. It takes less money. It for the cost of one issue of a comic book is like 5 minutes of film. It's crazy disparity in cost. So I was like looking at that, and then I thought to myself, there's going to be a wave of R-rated superhero movies. I thought like original superhero movies that are R-rated.
Mm,
So I was like, I gotta get in on this. Try to beat it basically. And then I thought like, hey, it's pretty cheap to film in New Orleans, so I kind of worked backwards from there. And then New Orleans has a history and all these cool locations, and that's where it started. And then I kind of took that idea and then just the idea of grief and loss, and then that's sort of it kind of melded and became what it was.
okay. And how I know him is so I see him on Facebook. Part used to be part of the same Facebook group, and things like that. So I see him kind of on social media and stuff like that. And I will say, he's very passionate about film, very passionate about writing. You know what I mean? Like he's definitely one of those people that you're gonna be all day replying back and forth, about an opinion. I remember, we went back and forth about us. That lasted like a couple of hours. Like I think it was what was that? What was it about? It was about that scene in Us where the
The can I jump in? The street, not straight out of Compton. Fuck the police.
yeah, it
Fuck the
was
police scene in Us. And my argument was that they already written the police out of the scene, so it didn't make sense for them to have this joke where the like the Bluetooth plays "fuck the police" instead of calling the police, and that wouldn't function. And just kind of nitpicky kind of stuff. Yeah.
yeah, stuff like that. So I was trying to prove that because she was she had like blood in her lungs and stuff like that. The thing didn't hear her clearly and everything. And so we just kind of went back and forth. It was kind of some stupid shit.
We
But what
locked
I,
we locked horns before. Yeah.
Yeah, so, but I like that, I mean, I don't think he's a contrarian by any means, but he's very just passionate about it. And I respect his opinion and like his opinion on a lot of different stuff. And, he had kind of another take that was kind of out there as well, you know what I mean, on Facebook as well. And I told him he was about to start a race war there because he was comparing, like he said, Shang-Chi was better than Black Panther and everything like that. I was like, damn, man, trying to start that conflict, or you know what I mean, things like
Fun
that.
on that, like it's fair. It's a fair comparison. Like it's a Marvel movie. It's very clearly like, okay, this is set in Africa. This is set in China. I think it's pretty fair comparison. I thought.
Yeah, actually, when you said that, more I thought about it, it's like, well, the movies they do have a lot of similarities, other than, of course, them being comic book movies. I'm like, well, it does deal with a villain who really a lot of people say the villain kind of was their movie as opposed to the hero's movie, and a lot of the ending kind of I think was very similar, like the big battle and stuff like that. So it did have a lot of similarities to it. I think both films did. So about your comic here, so I'm gonna pull it up right here. It's called Decay, so I'm gonna pull it up right
Mm-hmm.
over here. Let me see where I put it. Oh, there we go. So I'm getting permission from him and to to show this and everything like that. You people are getting an exclusive sneak peek at this here.
Oh yeah.
So right off the bat, I think for me, what really got me was the art. The art is really wonderful, really gorgeous stuff. Like it a lot. You want to tell about who did the art and how did you get them to
Yeah,
come on to
not
your?
me.
Oh, okay.
Favorite thing is something I didn't have any part of. But no, it was Reddit r/slash comic book collabs, and I think that's at least my point of reference from where you would get an artist like this. I kind of commissioned them, and I also heard DeviantArt is a good place to look, in Facebook groups like comic book Facebook groups, another place if people wanted to try to find another artist. And no, I mean, I had an idea, and I was like, hey, who wants to, you want to work with me? And then it was another guy that didn't work out, and then yeah, I found Marcelo, super professional, just got to work, just he's super talented, especially his colors. His colors are to me incredible.
Yeah, yeah, they are. They pop really nice. I think a lot of the colors and everything like that.
Hmm.
And like you mentioned before of New Orleans, because this comic does kind of have an influence of voodoo that's kind of involved in it. So with that kind of placement of it being New Orleans, so that's where you kind of drew inspiration to include voodoo and things like that in there.
Yeah, absolutely, and it just made sense. I wanted to be careful, obviously, because media has really put voodoo in a negative light,
Yes.
which is unfortunate, and we don't want to take advantage of many cultures, especially of African origin and things of that nature. But it did make sense. It's kind of like a backdrop as opposed to like, I wouldn't call it like a voodoo story. And the edit, I'm gonna edit. Actually, there's gonna be an edit of the comic. The main comic. I'm just gonna take the word voodoo out, so it's just kind of implied, because again, I don't want to try to add to like media just taking advantage, or showing this in a really poor light. But yeah, I mean, you said it, in New Orleans, it almost has I say it almost has a comic book lore in of itself. You know, like it has its own history. It has so many different cultures. It's got Creole, it's got Islander, it's got African, French. It just made it so easy to write in such a lot of beautiful locales and locations as well.
Yeah. Another thing about you, I noticed is you always have very strong critiques of black people in media, in film, and like that. And oh, are we gonna say something
Can I
or?
react to that real quick?
Uh,
No, and yeah. So I don't want to say I critique black people, like, but I think what I would say is that I hold black media in really high regard, because as we say Shang-Chi, we say a Black Panther. They give us like 3 or 4 movies a year that aren't like Tyler Perry movies. Like, there's a reason why Black Panther is a cultural phenomenon, because in reality, there's not a lot of those. What else are you gonna? What can you compare it to? You know.
right.
Um. So to me, you're kind of like, one, you only get so many of these. Two, you only get so many black directors, so you're kind of like taking up spots. I think you should try to make the best movie possible. And I think that's entirely fair to say that I do hold them to a high regard, because they represent me. When I go to see Black Panther, it's like, this is your movie. Just like people of Asian descent, when they went to see Shang-Chi, this is yours. This is it. And the only other Asian cast like that is like Crazy Rich Asians, which
Yep.
also came out the same year as Black Panther. So what's that? 4 years.
Yeah, 4 year
So
difference. And this year we also had stuff like Snake Eyes and Mortal Kombat, which both had
mhm.
a primarily Asian cast, and both of those movies kind of sucked.
You're right, and yeah, they sucked, right? Yeah, so
Yeah,
you're
I
right.
was. Yeah, Snake Eyes to this day is my biggest disappointment of 2021.
And then yeah, so you gotta. I do hold them to a higher standard, and there's been a lot of great black movies. Moonlight, Get Out, it's fantastic. Blind Spotting, The Last Black Man in San Francisco. All these are fantastic movies, and I look at them, and they just inspire me so much. So you're not incorrect in saying that. I just want to clarify, my motivations for doing so.
Yeah, there's a big difference between just being critical and holding a certain creator to a higher standard.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
you might argue I do that sometimes too.
yeah, I think and it's always good opinions, good thoughts about it. How much of that was kind of going on when because this comic is has black leads in it and everything like that. So how much of that was kind of in the forefront of your mind writing this comic here?
I mean, it was very important. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say I'm not trying to throw shots at Jordan Peele, but I'm not going to sit here and say I'll never write something with a white lead. I'm not going to sit
Mm.
and say that no shit like that. Can I cuss
Okay.
on here?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say no shit like that, but it is kind of. I mean, okay. Here's my thinking, and this might be a little self gratifying, but if you're like, hey, I want representation in comic books, boom, Decay issue 1. Like here you go. So like yeah, it's you got to start from the basis, and then you kind of have to. Hopefully, it kind of rises through pop culture and stuff like that. But no, representation was a huge deal. If you watch, I was on Twitter as I often am, and it was like, hey, what was the most cringiest moment in black television? Somebody said, and it was Nick Cage doing the dab. No, not Luke Cage. Excuse me, Luke Cage doing the dab. And those are the type of moments that never in my mind, and that's exactly what we're trying to avoid. There's no slang. I mean, there's a couple months just like it's peppered in. It's there's not a lot of like negative stereotypes. Um, the representation was very important to me. And I think I did a good job with that.
Okay. Nick, do you have any questions, anything like that?
No, not really.
Okay.
No, not really. Read the first issue of the comic. It's a very beautiful artwork, and I love all of the stuff that you're setting up with the supernatural elements. I know you said you try to avoid outright explicitly stating that this is voodoo. So, what was kind of the inspiration for kind of the supernatural parts of Decay?
It is.
Because especially in the last panel, I see hints of like George Romero.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, let's call it is voodoo, but it was just for me admitting that word was just like, hey, I have an out. You know what I'm saying? So if you're like, hey, this doesn't represent voodoo well, I'm like, hey, I didn't even try. So that was just something that just to kind of give it a little space if necessary. As far as that concerned. I'm sorry. What was your second part of your question?
Oh, that was my question.
Okay. Yeah. No, just I mean, it's supernatural. It's interesting. I mean, It's you want to imply it. I like things. I like things to be implied. I like things to be kind of subtle. I think it's very easy to overdo things, so it's to kind of have it be just kind of just put it out there and have it be like an undercurrent of the story as opposed to like the main focus. I thought was a good idea.
Yeah. So another thing with kind of, I know, one thing I really like about Anthony is his hustle. Constantly writing scripts, constantly talking about his scripts, putting his scripts out there for people to read, to critique, to ask for, improvement, everything like that. So that's one thing I really do appreciate. So, your journey of kind of, becoming a better writer, what was that kind of like, and what kind of advice for people who kind of struggle with that procrastination of writing and finishing a script, and now you have a whole comic which you have where you have an issue out, like take us through that kind of process of your writing and kind of becoming a better writer, and then that advice for the procrastination that people have.
Man, it was hard. I'm not gonna lie to you. I mean, it is a very hard process because I didn't go to film school. I mean, honestly, I haven't even taken a creative writing class. So, I mean, you almost got to hold a gun to people's head to get feedback, and it's unfortunate because I'm like, once again, I mean, how do you think movies get made? Like, how do you? This is the first step in that, and especially again, if everybody's big on representation, why don't you lend me a hand and come read this stuff? And it was very hard. So ultimately, my screenwriting career was just a bunch of false starts. I would talk to somebody, we're going to work, we're going to do this or that. It would fall through. Some people wouldn't even respond. And I mean, it my blood is boiling right now because I'm doing the right things. I'm trying to get better. It's not like I'm arrogant. I mean, I you can call me an arrogant person, but at least I'm trying to get better. I'm trying to like advance my craft. So I don't want to call it self-taught, but it's most like, well, I just had to keep watching movies and analyzing them and watching video essays. And it became a point. I was very fortunate that I have about 3 people that read everything I write. It took a very long time to get there, but it now I feel like solid. I feel like I got a team, and I feel like really solid. As far as just as far as getting the work done, I have a different process than most people. Um, I don't I don't have some kind of kitschy, like really cute kind of metaphor, like, hey, just go out there and get it. Just write. I mean, just write. Try to focus on one thing. You know, if you said to me, hey, and my dialogue needs work, just focus on that. Write a scene between 2 people. You know, kind of write, but also have an objective, but also just finish. Just finish it. Like you can't send it out for improvement if you don't finish. And I think people get into their head so much, and it's almost like a self-defeating attitude with writers that just, if I'm being honest, it drives me crazy because it's just like, well, I didn't get any pages done today. Like it's like a cute little thing that people like say. It's just like that's not something to celebrate. Like that's kind of like sad almost. It's like why don't y'all just it's putting words on the page. You know, at the end of the day, you know, you're not building a house. You know, you're not arming a bomb. It's just words on a page.
Yeah. With that process of constantly asking people to review your stuff and people not responding, I think was that such a defeating thing. I mean, especially people maybe personally, and you think that this guy's this person's my friend. They should try to help me out, and things like that. And I know in some cases, you can look at it as people can look at it as such a defeating manner. That even some people close to me don't even want to kind of support me in that way. How do you kind of deal with kind of things like that, or when you were going through that?
Ah, man, I just get really mad. I just get really irritated. I'll be honest with you because it's the easiest thing in the world to read a screenplay. You know, it doesn't take long. You know, it takes weeks to these people when you say, hey, the actual time it sat down for you to sit there and read this, I wanted to take 30 minutes. And then so I'm switching from like movies, which are like, 90 pages, 120 pages, to comic books, which are like 12 pages. Like, and they're still, it's still hard. But I mean, you just have to, you mean how much do you want to approach it? Like how much drive do you have, Like how bad do you want it essentially? Because if you really want it, you're not going to let somebody discourage you. And I'll be honest right now. I mean, even with having the campaign, there's people that I care about that care about me that haven't even said a word to me, and it hurts. But uh, my thing is, you don't need anybody, because you're gonna get it done, right? So if somebody doesn't want to help, you don't need them. That's kind of how I look at it.
Yeah. So your writing style, you said you're watching tons of movies, watching tons of shows, watching video essays. Could you give some kind of examples of kind of, when you first kind of started out, who you kind of think you modeled your writing style after, and just where you kind of learned to really look at film from a real critical point of view there?
I can tell you exactly what happened. Funny enough, Redbox I think was just around, and I was going into high school freshman year, and I watched Superbad. This had to be 2008, and I watched it. It blew my mind. I was like, "Oh, this is going to be me." The dialogue sounds so natural. I'm seeing myself in these characters, and it really blew me away. So Judd Apatow, Seth Rogen is a huge influence on me personally. And then I go to see Inglourious Bastards, probably like a year after that, and I was like, "No, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to do." That it also blew my mind. Um, so I study a lot of dialogue. Dialogue, I think, is my bread and butter. It's an obsession, I would call it. I study everybody. Aaron Sorkin, James Gunn, I think is really good. I blanking on the name. The guy who writes Fargo for FX,
Noah Hawley.
fantastic.
Oh, Noah Hawley.
Yes, fantastic dialogue writer. You got I don't know why I keep blanking. The dude who writes Game of Thrones, the book.
Oh, George R. R.
George
Martin.
R. R. Martin.
What am I doing, right? Like, yeah, George R. R. Martin. Anybody who's a good dialogue writer. Like Jordan Peele. He's his dialogue is very natural. I mean, he kind of he hit a a tightrope it would get out that was just so good. So the long answer is a little. Anybody who's ever been to the Oscars, the short answer would be Judd Apatow with a little bit of Quentin Tarantino thrown in there.
Okay. Yeah, I think those are.
He
Yeah.
also can write anything. I'm sorry.
Oh no, go ahead. Finish your statement.
Well, I in good dialogue can get you through anything. It's a slow scene. It's anything. Good dialogue never hurts. So, and I also write a little bit of everything. I write like comedies, dramas. You know, this is obviously Decay is obviously like a very dark thing. So, there's also that. And if you study a little bit of everything, you can kind of begin to write and produce anything as well.
So, what do you think are some examples of like bad writers or bad examples of writing that you think people should avoid or you kind of avoided? Things.
I came in here like almost had a whole list of things that really irritated me. So this is I do have a couple things, and so I've seen you post about this, and we've had conversations about this wokeness in media. Now, as I understand, and this is one of those things that it's difficult because what does woke mean, right? Like, what is we have all these like terms, and there's no definitive. To me, wokeness is like a facade. It's almost like a veneer of caring or empathy, but it's really just vapid. That's what I consider wokeness to be. So when I watch something like Loki, and then he just mentions that he's bisexual, it doesn't figure into the plot. It doesn't change anything. It doesn't. That's what irritates me. Like, why don't we do something about this? Why don't we integrate this into the narrative? That's one thing that irritates me for sure. Fan service. I bitched about fan service a lot. I mean, entire movies are now just fan service. That's also another thing. That's and I get there's a. I'm not trying to like sit here and be like super intense right now, but there's a whole culture of people that are locked into things that they used to watch. Nostalgia, the people and it's hard times for sure. I understand it, but you run the danger of getting into a feedback loop and not letting anything else in. And I understand, like, let people enjoy things, but you get to a point where an entire generation of people are crying because Steve from Blue's Clues looked in the camera and said, "Hey, you're doing a great job." Like, we're just so entrenched in like old media, that it's a dangerous precedent. And they've been talking about how everything was a sequel and a remake since 2010. I mean, it's been a while, but I feel like it's gotten worse where it's like, yeah, but even the things that are original, you're getting like homages and references. And like Avengers is a really good movie, right? That has fan service. We're getting we're getting further and further away from a good movie that has fan service, and we're getting closer to like this only works as connective tissue, or this only works to kind of give people a little dopamine rush. So I got my eye on that, certainly. That's probably about it right now.
So, following that kind of what you just said there, so do you think that when people say, because I see sometimes these takes online and people say, well, all movies kind of are the same now, they look the same, they feel the same, everything is a sequel, everything's a remake, everybody's just cashing in on nostalgia, and there's just kind of nothing new anymore, and it's just cashing in on what people already know. So do you think there's much of a difference of film where it is now, and including TV shows and maybe just media in general, including music and things, much of a difference now as opposed to maybe 40 years ago, 50 years ago, maybe a time what people...
Let's say conservatively 20 years ago.
20 years. The difference is that it was a complaint. In 2010, it was a complaint. Now it's just, yeah, I mean, it's cool. Yeah, that's what we do. We recycle the same media. I mean, okay, so I'll give it. Your doppelganger, Michael B. Jordan, made a movie called Creed, and it's so good. Like, it's like, is that essentially a remake of Rocky?
Yes, but you could also argue, does it work even if you haven't seen Rocky?
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
it's the perfect blending of, hey, I recognize this, but hey, you're also using that to tell a story and have a meta commentary on the new movie and the Rocky movies, and you combine it. And that's what I think that's what we should be aiming for. I mean, there have been some decent remakes. I thought the Halloween remake was not a sequel, whatever they want to call it.
Reboot. Yeah,
Sure.
reboot.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
reboot.
what they want to
Yes,
call it.
that movie's fantastic. I absolutely love that.
If you tell a good story, bro, I don't have a problem with you. Now, if you tell a whack ass story, and then the only thing that I have, if I'm watching like a Marvel movie, and I used to love these things. I used to be in love. I feel like I'm like disenchanted right now. But it used to be, you would go to a Marvel movie, you would get a really good story, then it'd be like the end credits are like the cherry on a sundae. Now the story is like the cherry on the sundae, and it's just a bunch of, to an extent, I don't want to get too crazy now, and it's more about the shows. That's what it only functions to serve the grander universe, and so storytelling is segmented. You take moments which turn into scenes, which turns into acts, which turns into movies. It's a building block. Like you have to tell a complete story. Like even scene to scene, they'll tell you tell a whole story scene to scene that has a beginning, middle, and end. That's how you're supposed to structure a screenplay, which is really hard. But if you watch like a Jaws, Jaws, and if anybody wants to learn how to write a movie, go watch Jaws. But if you watch Jaws, every scene has a beginning, middle, and end. Like that goes into the next scene. So I'm not as cynical. I'm not as cynical as to say I'm going to write off a movie immediately because it's a remake, but it does need to do something that it has to justify its existence, essentially, to me. Yeah. So I'm probably in between, because I used to love Marvel movies, so I'll go to see a Marvel movie. I'll go to see like the art house movie. It doesn't matter to me, but it does need to have soul. It needs to have artistic integrity. It needs to validate its existence, essentially, to me.
Yeah. Yeah, speaking, I know Marvel movies, they're popular, they're in pop culture. A lot of people talk about them. Of course, there was that whole thing with Martin Scorsese, and, it's not cinema, and, there was that whole kind of thing.
The second someone gets the call for the Marvel movie, you hear Conor McGregor, "No, call your wife, break out the red panties."
And he went to go make Joker. He was just like, yeah, these movies have no artistic integrity. Went to go make Joker, which is weird to me, but
yeah.
I mean, he had a director that was literally just doing the double-handed stroke the entire time.
That's why I liked it. I mean, isn't I'm sorry I know this is about a comic book too, but like, isn't what was it, The Irishman, like thematically the same as Endgame? Like, it's the same fucking movie? It's like, yeah, it's a send off for an era of film.
Oh,
yeah, I feel like it's I really feel like it's pretty similar. Like, because if you watch The Irishman, don't have any nostalgia, you're just like, oh, this is kind of fucking boring. But like, oh no, if you have like, oh, it's Joe Pesci, it's Robert De Niro, it's Al Pacino,
yeah.
Not to get
that's
into
like all of them on screen is like the portal scene from Endgame. Maybe for cinephiles.
I think there's an argument to be made. I think.
Yeah. So I know, a lot of people kind of talk about those movies, and they're the kind of easy targets when people talk about the kind of deterioration of film and things like that, and films are not what they kind of used to be. How much kind of do you put into the fault of the viewers as far as what they consume? Because when you see kind of some of these movies that kind of come out, for instance, like The Green Knight, right? And I saw The Green Knight, and and there was when I saw it, after it was done, a woman a couple seats down from me got up and said that movie fucking sucked, right? So I don't know what the woman enjoys in her time, with other movies, but you kind of see these kind of films, like something like maybe kind of other films like The Farewell, or maybe kind of other films like Parasite, where people general people might not like it as much, or you'll see kind of that disparity of going on between like the Rotten Tomatoes audience score and then the Rotten Tomatoes critical score. So how much kind of do you kind of put in the hands of the viewers and the audience as far as what they consume, as far as asking for more original movies, but then still consuming sequels and things like that and remakes and Marvel movies?
I feel like you know the answer to this question, but I put a lot of onus on the viewer because, like I said, they're trying to get a feedback. They're just trying to like just give me dopamine, just give me the fix, to get through their day. Well, I will say about the Green Knight, the pacing was glacial. Like I can understand why somebody would sit there and like be like, yeah, this movie's boring.
Mm. Yeah.
Not the. I'm not trying to like, I guess, be specifically like talk about Green Knight, but a lot of these art house movies are not perfect. I guess what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
Right.
And I don't even know if Green Knight's art house movie. Some of these movies are not perfect. Like some of these movies are flawed, and then I think that opens up another can of worms. Is that these prestige movies sometimes are not that good,
Right.
and then the audiences to me sometimes is right. Like, hey, the pacing could have been a little faster for Green Knight. You know what I'm saying? Like, I haven't heard a single person complain about Parasite personally. I'm not trying to say you're wrong, but I think maybe these are the type of movies we should make that are like kind of they're kind of original, but also they have. I mean, Parasite is a very American movie. Like it's about capitalism. It's structured very much like an American movie.
Mhm.
So it's So I
Yeah,
think
if you, I think there are certain elements of that movie that are also ultra specific to Korean culture and the Korean economy that I don't think if you like swap it out with an American cast, I don't think it works the same way. But
I'm,
some of the ideals do, I think, transcend over to more Western culture.
some of the things like the Ramdan scene, yeah, that wouldn't
Mhm.
make sense. That I guess what I'm saying is okay. So I talked about one of the things I liked about Shang-Chi is it feels like heavily influenced by Chinese media. And
Mhm.
I hope that's not offensive. Like
Yep. Yeah. Heavily by a lot of Hong Kong cinema, a
Hong Kong
lot
cinema.
also a lot of Chinese American cinema.
Yes. So you watch it and it's like I was watching the slow mo and I was like, why do they keep doing slow mo? This is real amateurish. And you keep watching like, oh no, this is like a little homage thing. Okay, I'm with it. Like it's a little wire foo in there too. I was like, okay, well they know what they're doing here. And then when you get to the last act, it's like, oh no, this is some wild shit. Like this is like no other American. And then you watch Black Panther, which you know, it's more or less like a Western movie. Like it's more or less just like an American movie. You know what I'm saying? Like it's set in Africa. There's rhinos, but the structure of it, there's nothing. They're not weaving in a lot of African philosophies and all these stuff to really like. That's why I appreciate it more.
Mm.
Um, to circle back, I think the art house. I think every movie of every type kind of just take a step forward and be better. Some of them aren't that good, and then maybe audiences will be more open to it. Because I've seen movies where I'm like, I showed my man's who doesn't watch a lot of movies. I showed him Moneyball. He was
Mm.
like, I like that. Like you'd be shocked. You'd be like, okay, well, Moneyball's a good movie. He liked it, So I'm not somebody who's going to sit here and put on the cape for art house movies. I
Mm.
like good media. I like good storytelling. If you have good storytelling, then I'm gonna go to war with you. But if you have weak storytelling, then go fuck yourself, basically.
Yeah.
So a little A and B, I think.
Yeah, it's tough because movies. It's completely your own opinion, and yeah, I mean, not just because something
Mhm.
has a art house label on that doesn't always make it good. And then sometimes these critics they follow behind each other in terms of liking something, and then maybe some people don't want to, dip from the crowd because like I don't want to look stupid by not liking this, and
Yeah.
you know what I
Yeah,
mean.
I don't want to get shit from all my critic buddies.
You know what I mean? They say this is revolutionary and this is so great. It's like okay, I don't know. I think it's kind of some bullshit,
It's
and
both.
yeah.
It's really both. Like it. I don't know
Mhm.
why they act as if like you're chasing. If you lower the bar for entertainment, it's the same thing. if I go see the worst Marvel movie, it doesn't have to be a Marvel movie. They're a big target, you know. If I go to see it, I'm like, oh, it had action and it was cool, you know what I'm saying? If I go to see let's say the Green Knight was dog shit. I say to see, oh, it had symbolism, it had themes, it had a great score. It's the same thing. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a different shade of lipstick, but you know, you're still and I I I don't know if movies are entirely subjective. Like I think it's funny because I was thinking about that and I was like, as a writer, right?
Hmm.
It behooves me if there's a secret formula for writing good stuff. That's more advantageous to think about than like, I don't know, you throw some shit on the screen and you know, you just see. But the storytelling is in it's in our instinct. It's like in our blood. Like we know what a good story is.
Mm.
We can look on a stage and see a comedian bombing and say, yeah, he's doing a shitty job. Like we can look at things. It's inherent to our nature. So I do think there is a certain objectivity. If we're talking about two good movies, then yeah, I think that's subjective. Like, what do you prefer? What's better, Good Godfather or Goodfellas? Like, you know, you're kind of splitting hairs at that point. But if somebody were to sit here and if I'm going to get here and say like, oh yeah, The Room is better than Goodfellas, like y'all look at me crazy because y'all know, like you know that you know The Room
Yeah,
is better than Goodfellas.
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
If yeah, there is subjectivity, and then there's just being wrong.
Right.
Yeah.
You sound so arrogant saying that, but it's true. Like there's
But
just
yes, I don't want to sound arrogant, but absolutely, it is true.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
You
like I
can,
said, you got
you
to
can,
find that. You got to
yeah, you
find the
can.
elements that make a good story, and then you put it in a story, and then it'll probably probably be better off for having these
Mm.
things. You know, I mean, there's this book called the Screenwriter's Journey, and it essentially just boils down. It's the Hero of a Thousand Faces, the monolith. It's like monomyth, I think it is, but it just says like, hey, every story follows these beats, and you know that's what Star Wars did. You know, what I'm saying Star Wars is literally like a copy and paste movie with these beats, and it works. It resonates with people. So like I said, it's a little self-serving to say like, hey, movies aren't entirely subjective, a little bit. But I do think if you're asking me, you ask me what's my process is, it is ranking movies objectively, or at least saying, okay, this good movie has enough of these elements that makes a good story. You know, I think.
Right. So what are your goals, pretty much with Decay, and what do you hope for, and for the future and everything like that of this comic and just your career in general?
The end goal is an Oscar. Um, the end goal is an Oscar. You know, have dedicated to my family and dedicated to people that have helped me out. That's that's not even a 10-year plan. Like that's like a 20-year plan. But like I said, part of the thought process for the case, I want to make it a movie. So best case scenario, I would get like have this be a movie. As far as comic book aspirations, I just want to finish the series. I mean, honestly, like um I it's I'm trying to articulate. I want to say like, oh, it's not about the money, but I just really do like storytelling. Like if I break even, that's the goal right now because that's hard to do. That is incredibly hard to do for art. We have a lot of artist friends, like not even like, oh, mutual friends. Like, no, we all know somebody who like has not broken into art. Like it's hard, to
Yeah.
to break even is great. To just say, hey, I'm doing what I want to do and I'm just, scraping by money wise. I mean, that's there's something to be said for that. So haven't made, so that would be the goal right now is finish this series. It's a 5-issue series.
Mm.
Finish this series, keep making comic books, hopefully make movies because I am a screenwriter at heart, and hopefully get the movie done like I'm trying to at some point.
Okay. And you got a Kickstarter, so I'm gonna put your Kickstarter up right here. Put it on stream
Can
right
I
here.
ask what you thought about the comic?
I thought it was pretty good. I thought it was pretty solid comic. Really like the artwork. Like the story. Want to see where it goes. The ending of issue one. Okay, I thought that was kind of leaves me interested to read issue two and so on and so forth.
Yep.
Yeah, go ahead, Nick.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, I think issue one, it does everything that an issue one should do. It should introduce you to the characters. It should introduce you to the setting. All of it does really well, and then leave you wanting to it leaves you wanting to pick up issue two right away. And that's kind of where I was at reading Decay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank
Like the
God.
entire time, fuck. Where's two?
Where's number two? It's in the works, man. Believe me. People were saying, they're like, "Where's this coming out?" I was like, "I don't know, shit, man. Next year."
Yeah.
They're like, "Oh, that's too long for a comic book release." I'm like,
Yeah.
"It's the indie comic schedule." But yeah, I just wanted to just see what your guys' thoughts were. Thank you so much.
And it says here, so on your Kickstarter page right here, you can also have the link on his Twitter right there. I also retweeted it, so at Afternoon Tune on Twitter, I also have this Kickstarter up there. You can go and pledge, help him out, show some support there for his comic. And then when you pledge, you also get a digital copy of the comic. Correct? When you pledge.
Yes.
Yeah.
You get three right now. If for every pledge, you get 3 comic books. You get 3 issue ones.
Okay.
Ooh.
Yeah, we hit our goal. So it's I hope I'm not. It's called The Curse of Dracula, which was really, really, really good. It's set like I don't know, Dracula times, like like the old English, like whenever Dracula is set, and it kind of just tells the story almost like a mystery. And the dialogue is so good. The dialogue, like the writer nailed like the time period, the time setting. It's got a mystery. It's very interesting, really beautiful art.
Yeah.
And then the other one is in Nera. I'm sorry, you have to look for the pronunciation, but that's like got gorgeous artwork, gorgeous, like really dread-inducing, really atmospheric. So those are definitely two I'm really excited that are part of my campaign and to get put out there for other people to see.
Yeah. So on the Kickstarter page here, list some influences. So Minister Society, The Crow, Lovecraft Country, The Monkey's Paw, Frankenstein. Definitely see a lot of those influences there. Stuff like Minister Society, definitely see that there. The Crow, dealing with the elements there. I don't want to spoil the comic for anybody there, but I see a lot of those things there. Lovecraft Country, definitely see a lot of kind of the magic elements there, the spirit, the kind of spiritual things there. Monkey's Paw, Frankenstein, yeah, very, very much see those influences. You also got some reviews here. One review from very own Adrian from oneofus.net, critic that was on the show as well. So I'll just read this review that he put out for the comic. It says, I don't read a lot of comic books, but the ones that I have, I've read because the first issue grabs me, gives me chills, and makes me realize I'm in for something really fucking special. Decay is the first comic book I've read in the past 10 years that has given me that feeling again, and I can't wait for more. So high praise there. You also have a review from Noah Rye from Constructing Comics. It says, Decay is intriguingly well-paced comic with shocking twist that catches you off guard. I was hooked from page 1. You have another one here from Aaron Roboleski. It says, the rich colors pull you into the characters. Looking forward to see what happens next. Yeah, I mean, very much so. Yeah, I think very, very, good colors that really pop on the page and really kind of make you kind of just want to keep reading very much so. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty good. I'd be interested to see more. I'm definitely going to be supporting more of the Kickstarter, give some more money when I can. Nick, is there anything else you want to ask Anthony while we got him here?
No, a great first issue. Hope to read more of it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. No, yeah. You guys will get the first as soon as it's off the presses. You guys will get issue 2.
Oh yeah.
Thank you so much for the kind words.
Yeah, and when you ever have a physical copy, send it over. I want it signed too. Put it. I mean, when you get that Oscar, I want to have it nicely framed, and then I can sell it on eBay.
Go ahead, frame it.
This is hey, there's a reward on there for the signed copy. So go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah, this has been a point of contention with some of my friends. They're like, can you sign it? I'm like, what if I sign it, then it lowers the value of the signature, But we'll work something. We'll work something.
Okay, I'll
We'll
work
work
something out.
something out, bro.
Yeah. Well,
All right.
thank you for coming on, man. Thanks for doing this interview. Very, very much appreciated. You should also just come on, if you wanted to just chill out, hang out, review something with us, comment on some stuff in the media, something like that. I'd also love to have you on for that, as well.
Oh no, absolutely, man. Yeah, we'll have to set that up.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Well, hey, man, have a good one, man. Take care.
Absolutely.
All right, man. Love to have you on, man.
Have a good one.
One last thing. If you just want to promote your stuff, your links, all that good stuff like that, you know what I mean? Say that where people can find your Kickstarter, everything like that.
It's not gonna be something. Let me see. I don't know if it's very like something you want to read out loud. I mean, it's on Kickstarter. If you search Decay on Kickstarter, it'll pop up. And then also my Twitter is at Stokes the Writer.
Okay.
So you can find me on there. Any links you need, I'm on there.
Yep. Stokes the Writer, Stokes, and then the Writer. There you can follow him there, and he's got the link to the Kickstarter on his page and on his Twitter. Yeah. Do you have it as your pinned tweet, right?
Yes,
Yep.
sir.
You got it as your pin. So right when you go to his page, you'll see it right there up in his pin. So yeah, check him out there. Is it also on Facebook as well?
I don't have it's a little harder. It's Decay Comic Book on Facebook. A little harder to find than Twitter.
Okay.
So the Twitter's definitely the best one.
Okay. Great. Well, thank you, man. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Absolutely, man. You guys, thank you so much.
All right, man. Have a good one, man. Take care.